great to be with you at the Goodman Theater on stage, preparing for the opening night of Inherit the Wind. And we're right across the street from Winston and Strawn, and it's really a thrill for me and our firm to be co-sponsoring Inherit the Wind here at the Goodman, and to have the opportunity to talk on stage about trial lawyers and storytellers. So people sometimes have a misperception about what courtrooms are actually like because they've only seen them on television or in movies. Mo, you're a trial lawyer. How do real-life courtrooms resemble what we see in fiction, and how are they different?
They're different because it's a lot more dull, right? I mean, it's just quieter. It's not nearly as theatrical, I think, most of the time. The way it's the same is when you see a really good cross-examination. I think of the people that I've seen who really know what they're doing when they cross-examine a witness, how kind of tense it can be, and how, if they're good at it, there's like a build-up and a build-up and a build-up and then a big payoff. My cousin Vinny is a good example of that, where you're like, where's this guy going? What's going to happen? And then boom.
So there's two stories happening in a court, not just yours. How do you adapt to the other side's narrative while you're going through the process of telling your story?
Every case is different, and every case has its own kind of little story behind it. It's always best to have your story front and center, and to keep it front and center throughout. You don't want to be too reactive. You do have to adapt, and you do have to understand and change and respond to what they're saying, but it's always, I think, in the framework of, this is our story first and foremost. This is what really happened, and then why do I not listen to them? Because they're not talking about what really happened. And so you always have to kind of keep that in mind when you're doing a trial. Don't abandon. You might have to adapt, but don't abandon your story or be too reactive to their story, and kind of plow ahead with your own.
So a lot of cases you do are technical, patent cases, product cases involving science. How do you take complicated technical subject matter and make it understandable to either a jury or a very smart but inexperienced in the technology judge?
Right. I love this question because this is kind of what we do at Winston. I think people appreciate learning stuff that they didn't know about. I try to dumb it down to my level. I try to figure out what makes sense to me. How did I learn this? How did I figure out how this works? And then how can I convey that to someone else who's in my position, right? Who doesn't understand necessarily the science behind it. I work with a lot of experts, and experts talk science. I mean, they have a hard time a lot of times boiling things down to people who aren't in their field. And I had this one expert, and he was a statistician, and statistics is the driest thing imaginable. It's really hard to understand and everything. And we had an arrow and a target, and we worked with this arrow and target theme throughout his entire testimony to explain it in a way that was understandable. And I think that's the sort of thing where you can get a judge or a jury to really understand something extremely complicated by using something that they understand, with something basic and everyday that they will get, like shooting an arrow at a target.
So you mentioned My Cousin Vinny,
yeah.
Which lawyers love My Cousin Vinny.
I love it.
Are there other fictional lawyers who you admire, and why?
Well, I mean, I love Atticus Finch. I think everybody probably loves Atticus Finch, but he combined integrity with just a relentless search for the truth, and then just a really effective way of presenting that ultimately wasn't successful, but that really kind of demonstrated how you're supposed to be as a lawyer, honest, straightforward, and relentlessly pursuing what is right and what is true. So, I mean, he's my favorite. I named my first dog after him.